Hey everyone, this is Nathaniel Moore with selfconcept.com, and I'm with one of the self-concept coaching members here today, Peter Schwartz. Hi, Peter.
Howdy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone, the reason, I wanted to interview Peter today is because there are so many great resources inside of our group, and for those of us that are applying the tools, I just wanted to make sure that we're able to, connect and share some of that wisdom and that experience from applying those tools. So, Peter, if you don't mind, if we could start with a little bit about, your history prior to this model and kind of what brought it forefront for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I I'd been studying NLP and neurolinguistic programming for years
Yeah.
before I found Actually, it's interesting that the book Transforming Yourself was in my Kindle for a very long time.
Uh,
And I had attended NLP training. After NLP training, I'd done DHE with Bandler in Orlando. Um, I'm a child of the internet, so I have hard drives full of stuff.
yeah.
And, I always really identified with the NLP philosophy that you can change the way you think rather quickly and change your beliefs, change how you feel, and then model successful behavior. And for some reason, though, inside of my own life, I was never really able to actually create those transformations. So I had gone to the seminars, I was coaching, and I was getting some results for clients.
Yeah.
But there, also inside of me, a little bit of an imposter syndrome that was accurate, given the fact that I wasn't being the person that I wanted to be. I still had this lifelong procrastination habit. I used to joke that it took me longer to graduate college than Van Wilder. And, that's true. It did take me longer. And a lot of that was because I identified as a procrastinator.
Mm.
And I had all of these identities that I had been dragging with me. And I had tried traditional NLP interventions. I actually tried cognitive behavioral therapy. I tried a bunch of things to get myself to be the person I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And, 8 years of doing this stuff, hypnotherapy, past life regression. I tried yoga, like you name it. I did it all. Intermittent fasting. But I did everything to try and make those changes.
Yeah.
And one day I'm watching YouTube, which was one of my favorite ways of procrastinating. And I came upon a video about self-concept.
Uh-huh.
So I think at this point in our culture, everybody, well, at least most people that I've met would agree that your beliefs create self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah.
And so everybody knows this. Everybody tells you, you got to believe in yourself. You got to have confidence. You got to have a good attitude, whatever, right? But then when I came across this video and I was listening to what Damon was saying in the video, I realized that I was watching something that would actually give me a structure for how to identify and change beliefs, which is what NLP had promised me 10 years ago. And so I knew the second I saw this, I had to have it. I had to have it. And for me, one of the principles that I've internalized from the beginning was have an expert do it for you. Always go to somebody who knows what they're doing first. So I realized I had the book. I started reading the book. And anybody who's tried to read the book, it is dense. And, I'm talking to several people right now who are reading it. And it's almost like we have a little support group. We're trying to get through chapter by chapter. So I thought rather than trying to apply this material myself, I'm going to hire Damon. So I signed up for coaching immediately. And the first session, he elicited my goals and my values. And then the second session, he did a transformation for me.
What was that like?
It was proof positive that rapid change is possible.
Yeah.
So my highest value at the time was freedom. And we mapped that to authenticity. And I had this incredible limiting belief about being an authentic person. And we transformed that over the course of an hour. And so that to me, that was a light bulb moment. The lights went on inside and I go, oh my God, if this is possible, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next session, he wants to transform love, right? And even though that's my highest value, I'm thinking to myself like, actually, Damon, I'm broke and I'm not getting any clients. So how about we work on my business? And he's like, okay, so what do you want to transform in your business?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm a procrastinator,
Uh-huh.
you know? And so
Uh-huh.
he, over the course of an hour, he creates this transformation for me where all of a sudden at the end of the call,
Mhm.
I'm like, no, I'm not a procrastinator. I'm an
Right.
incredibly productive person.
Yeah.
And it was so bizarre to go from being a procrastinator to being
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah.
And then a week later, um, I'm looking at the clock in the top right of my computer screen,
Uh-huh.
and it says 10:30 p.m. And then I realized, oh my God, I have been working on my business since 4:30 that morning. Like this
Wow.
incredible flow of productivity that
Yeah.
had never been there before.
Yeah.
Uh, and then it was one more transformation after that, and I got 4 new clients. And then after that, I filled my practice within about 2 weeks.
So that's really amazing, Peter. That's awesome. Quick question: what were those that time between transformation? What do you think the component parts are? The impacts of that transformation, and then you mentioned a certain amount of productivity in clients. What can you bring me through that a little bit further as far as what actually happened and how you feel like the identity plays a role in those results, or
Sure. So, inside of any business, there's going to be certain key activities to
Yeah,
drive revenue,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And for my coaching business in particular,
yeah.
there were 3 things that I needed to be doing.
Hmm.
And with that identity of being a procrastinator,
Yeah,
I had to rev myself up to start something, and I
sure.
would stop after about 5 or 10 minutes of it, right?
Yeah,
So in order to put out the amount of content I needed to actually
yeah,
build know, like, and trust, in order
yeah,
to reach out to the number of people I needed to actually gain a client,
yeah.
I could never actually get the ball rolling enough, get enough
Hmm.
momentum to
Hmm.
actually get a client. So shifting that around, and then all of a sudden I just cannot. I mean, it's there even to this day. It's been one of the most lasting transformations I've ever done. I notice it in places where I try and minimize the number of touch points on things.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
it gets stronger over time to the point where if I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, it's going to happen.
Sure.
Tamara will ask me all the time. She's like, "What do you mean you watched that training? How have you read that book already? What are you
Uh-huh.
talking like?
Uh-huh.
When did this happen?"
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Um, but back to your question, in that time period,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, so the interesting thing about a transformation like that
Hmm.
is you align values with the behavior. So all of a sudden, the resistance that I had
Yeah.
to bring my work out there, to getting on discovery calls,
Yeah.
now I have these strong positive emotions associated
Yeah.
with making income,
Hmm.
with reaching out to people.
Hmm.
So it became compulsive for me. Like, yesterday I sat down to write content,
Yeah.
and it's flow. I mean, it almost feels like, I don't want to say bliss, but it almost feels like blissful
Sure.
to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And when it feels that good to be productive,
Yeah.
it's hard not to be.
That makes a lot of sense. Is that the kind of work right now that you're doing with a lot of the business clients that you have, is basically aligning their identity with those kinds of outcomes? Just out of curiosity. Yeah, very cool. You mentioned something a few minutes back, and you mentioned identities. You had these identities,
Mm.
and just for those people that haven't, that are maybe are new to the work, can you explain why you said identities rather than identity? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So uh, the way I language this, I bounce back and forth between self-concept, self-image, and identity.
Sure.
So when we talk about self-concept, we're talking about the collection of beliefs about yourself.
Yeah.
And so to me, every self-concept belief that you have is an
Mhm.
identity level belief.
Got it.
And so when I talk about identities, I don't have multiple personalities.
Of course.
Uh, when I say identity, I'm referring to a belief about me. This is
Uh-huh.
who I am. So one of those beliefs was, I'm a procrastinator, for
Hmm.
example.
I absolutely, and I know that I think it's in the book. Steve references how it's really that we have self concepts, and that we're
Mhm.
self rather than meaning that we have many different beliefs about ourselves in many different areas of our lives and those kinds of things. And I assumed that's what you were referencing there. That's pretty cool. Well, excellent. What are some of the transformations that have made the biggest difference in your life, would you say? Or if you were to list off a couple that you think that could support anyone's life, or how, do you have any recommendations for the members that are doing the work right now?
Yeah, I would start with limiting self-concepts. So if you've come to this work and there's a way you've always been,
Yeah.
and you don't like it, so
Sure.
I would look for areas where the brake is on, so to speak. So if you're a procrastinator, knock that out. If you don't believe you're intelligent, there are certain beliefs that at a meta level will affect everything that you do. So if you don't believe you're intelligent, having the belief that you are will help you get through this work easier. If you believe you're a failure, if you don't believe you're a successful person. I remember when I installed success, I got better at everything. So my just even the old NLP techniques that didn't work for me, those became more effective.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I think that I think it's going to be deeply individual for every person.
Sure.
But start with where you've always kind of thought, oh, I could never be that person. Because I think in that there's so much treasure to be found in giving yourself permission to think outside of that box. So if you look at people and you go, I could never be that person, or I could never do that, I would start there.
Nice. And what kind of questions do you think that someone should ask themselves? So let's say they're observing somebody else, or they've always dreamed about themselves potentially being a certain way, but what kind of questions could they ask themselves to really start to mine how that translates into an identity level shift or doing the work?
Yeah. So I think so we have to go even one step bigger than what is the self-concept that you want.
Yeah.
I think it's what is the self-concept you want for what purpose? So ultimately in design, so if I give you the ability to completely create yourself in any way that you want to be, truly now you have the keys to make any transformation. Now the question becomes a lot bigger. And the question is now, who do I want to be as a person in this world? What is the impact that I want to have? How do I want to be remembered when I'm gone? And if you start to ask these questions, actually give yourself permission to realize that you matter more than you may realize. And that inside you, there may be a purpose or a mission or a gift that is begging to get out of you if you'll give yourself permission to dream big enough. So now that you have the ability to transform yourself this powerfully, for what are you going to do it? I mean, listen, if you do this work, the finances are a given. The relationships will get there. Your goals, you will achieve them. Now what? So it comes back to me to that kind of a cliche thing, but really don't, treat it like it's an important question. Treat it with, if you could do anything and success was not, or failure was not possible, what would you do? And then aim that as a direction. I'm not asking you to be a superhero, but create a meaningful direction for your life and then start to build an identity around that direction.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, man, I do appreciate you taking the time to chat with me for a few minutes today. And I hope that we can, I'm sure there's going to be, as we all develop, there'll be more and more opportunities for us to chat like this. And I know that all the members here in level 1 and level 2 are going to get a ton of benefit from interacting with you if they have the chance and asking questions and things like that. So thanks again for taking your time.
Hey, thank you so much.